What should we call her, sir?
इसकी माँ का नाम जानकी था। हम इसे सीता बुलावेंगे।
इतिहास जानता है ये कहानी कैसे खत्म हुई। हाय बॉयज। सीता आज लंका खुद जलाने आई। शुरू करो अग्नि परीक्षा।
अल्फा प्रोग्राम उसका जुनून है।
मैं जो बना रहा हूँ वो इतिहास है।
फतेह को रोकोगी कैसे सीता? अपने जंगल का शेर है वो।
जिसे तुमसे बात करनी है रोक लो तो बात कर लो।
Oldest, most universally recognized story template we have, the captive princess locked away, waiting patiently for a male savior to arrive and rescue her. In the ancient epic of the Ramayana, this plays out on a massive scale. A demon king kidnaps the princess and carries her across the sea to his fortified island kingdom. Historically, the character of Sita has been defined entirely by her patience and purity. She is framed as the ultimate passive figure, quietly enduring her captivity in Lanka while waiting for outside intervention. The demon holding her constructed his reign entirely on deceit. According to the original texts, and echoed in the new trailer's dialogue, he ruled through manipulation and won his battles by lying. The structure of this myth has remained completely intact for millennia. The ending is a fixed point in history. The captive waits, and the hero eventually arrives to dismantle the demon's empire. Modern blockbuster audiences, however, have grown weary of this passive dynamic, especially within expansive, high-stakes franchises like the YRF spy universe. Studios frequently attempt to solve this by simply handing a female character a weapon and dropping her into a standard action sequence. That acts as a cosmetic patch, failing to provide actual narrative agency. To build a compelling modern thriller, the protagonist requires a story deeply rooted in her own specific motivations, rather than simply matching the physical choreography of her male counterparts. The filmmakers here face a highly specific challenge. They must honor the cultural weight of India's most famous historical epic, while simultaneously delivering an aggressive, independently motivated action lead. The trailer immediately signals its approach by explicitly linking its lead operative to the epic. Her handlers decide to call her Sita, stating her mother's name is Janaki. On the other side of this conflict is Fateh, the antagonist positioned as the modern incarnation of the ancient demon. The trailer establishes his psychological profile quickly. He considers himself the lion of his jungle, operating a massive syndicate built entirely on deception and manipulation. His sole obsession is the Alpha program, and he systematically crushes any opposition that steps into his path. Because Fateh mirrors that ancient, deceitful archetype, engaging him with conventional, honorable espionage tactics is a guaranteed failure. To tear down his network, the agency requires an operative unburdened by traditional rules of engagement, someone willing to attack his empire from the inside out. This setup leads directly to the trailer's most pivotal dialogue. History knows how this story ended, but this time, Sita herself has come to burn Lanka. The entire narrative structure inverses right here. The protagonist is completely removed from the role of the kidnapped victim awaiting a siege. She is actively launching it. In the original epic, the rescue concludes with the Agni Pariksha, a trial of fire that the princess must undergo to prove her purity and virtue after being held captive. The modern script takes that exact terminology and aggressively recontextualizes it, declaring, "Let the trial of fire begin." Instead of a passive test of virtue, this trial of fire becomes a literal, explosive combat crucible that the operative deliberately initiates against her enemies. By dictating both who burns the city and who controls the flames, the character sheds thousands of years of passivity and claims total, violent agency over her own narrative. The stakes escalate significantly in the trailer's closing warning. India didn't respect Alpha. Now India will fear Alpha. This graph highlights a stark thematic shift within the espionage network. The operatives are abandoning the desire for institutional validation and instead demanding absolute authority. The tone of the entire franchise moves with this declaration, stepping away from standard, crowd-pleasing heroics and leaning into cold, ruthless operational efficiency. The modern operatives leading this charge embody a fearless, unapologetic attitude toward their targets. This shift positions the Alpha program as a self-sustaining force within the franchise, operating by a set of rules that no longer depend on the established order of the existing spy network. The film utilizes high-octane set pieces to frame a specific narrative goal: the systematic deconstruction of a multi-thousand-year-old story. Alpha operates as a deliberate, feminist reclamation of India's oldest epic, using the framework of a modern spy thriller to execute it. The hyper-violent, proactive reality presented in these few minutes of footage stands in total contrast to the historical record of the myth it references. The ultimate outcome is a subversion of expectations, where the princess refuses the role of the rescued captive and chooses instead to dismantle the enemy's stronghold on her own terms.